Hi, I'm Leila Massimo and you're watching AU News. Here what's making news right now. A high-ranking general, the head of Russia's nuclear protection forces, was killed in Moscow by a bomb. Rescue workers raced against time to reach survivors of tropical storm in Vanuatu. US President-elect Donald Trump stated that Turkey will play a decisive role in determining Syria's future. A high-ranking general, the head of Russia's nuclear protection forces, was killed in Moscow by a bomb hidden in an electric scooter. Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov was killed near a residential building on Ryazansky Prospect, approximately 7 kilometers southeast of the Kremlin. The investigative committee stated that Kirillov's assistant was also killed alongside him. Photos shared on Russian Telegram channels show two bodies lying on the blood-stained ground covered with snow in front of the destroyed building entrance. A criminal case has been opened. Tragedy struck a Christian school in Wisconsin today as a 15-year-old student opened fire, leaving 3 people dead, including herself, and injuring 6 others. The shooting unfolded at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, the state capital.
In the latest shooting to shake a US campus, the suspect, a teenage student, killed a fellow student and a teacher at the Wisconsin school before being found dead at the scene. The incident, which took place at Abundant Life Christian School in the state capital of Madison, injured more than 6 people, including children.
Of the 6 injured and taken to local hospitals, 2 students remain in critical condition. Their injuries are life-threatening. A teacher and 3 other students were taken to area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. 2 of those victims, 2 of those survivors, have been released from the hospital. So that is an update.
The shooter, identified as Natalie Rupno, also known as Samantha, reportedly turned the gun on herself after the attack. Officials say her family is cooperating with the investigation, but the motive behind the violence remains unclear. The school, which serves around 400 students from kindergarten to 12th grade, is now reuniting families.
The reunification of students and their loved ones who survived this incident is complete. All student survivors have been reunified with their parents. We're still in the process of reunifying some of our staff, our teachers who selflessly stayed back to make sure our kids were okay.
While rare, school shootings involving female perpetrators account for just 3% of such incidents in the United States. For now, Madison mourns a devastating loss as authorities continue to investigate. The epidemic of shootings has impacted both public and private schools in urban, suburban, and rural communities. US President Joe Biden offered his condolences to the victims of a school shooting in Wisconsin and urged Congress to pass tougher gun control laws.
A powerful earthquake measuring 7.4 in magnitude struck Vanuatu's capital, Port Vila, on Tuesday, causing widespread destruction. At least 1 person has been confirmed dead and many others have been injured as buildings collapsed throughout the city. The earthquake caused widespread damage, crushing buildings and vehicles. Landslides blocked key roads, including access to the shipping terminal. Foreign embassies, including the US and New Zealand, reported major damage. Communication outages and aftershocks are hindering rescue efforts. In Vanuatu, rescuers are racing against time as hundreds are feared dead after a tropical storm hit their archipelago. Residents and aid organizations are facing a major challenges. France is working to support its poorest region, but full recovery is expected to take time.
Cyclone Chido, which was the strongest to hit the Indian Ocean islands in nearly a century, caused widespread destruction in Mayotte. Emergency workers are currently scrambling to find survivors and clear blocked roads. Despite their efforts, large areas remain inaccessible, complicating relief work. The disaster has left the island in a state of shock. French Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau arrived to the island to assess the situation, acknowledging that it would take days to determine the true scale of the disaster. The French Interior Ministry stated that the death toll is difficult to estimate at this stage, but several hundred, possibly even thousands, are feared dead.
Without a doubt, we have to start thinking about reconstruction very quickly. We are, of course, still in an emergency, but we must very quickly plan for reconstruction.
As the region battles the aftermath, humanitarian aid has begun to arrive. The Red Cross dispatched an initial shipment of 30 tons of emergency supplies, including tools, showels, blankets, solar lamps and hygiene kits. However, the logistics of delivering aid are complex due to the damaged infrastructure.
Fortunately, we have 250 Red Cross workers on the ground, 150 staff and 100 volunteers. These people have also been shocked by what happened. Some have lost everything, including our local director, the territorial director of the Red Cross, who lost his house. So these people need to be able to get back on their feet on a family level so that they can go back and help people and resume activities that will help people.
Local authorities reported widespread destruction, with makeshift houses destroyed and boats overturned. Key infrastructure, including government buildings and a hospital, also sustained significant damage. The cyclone's powerful winds and torrential rains uprooted coconut trees and caused severe flooding. Cyclone Chido has further strained the already fragile living conditions in the island, making recovery efforts all the more urgent.
The United Nations Security Council convened to discuss the escalating humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, where civilians continue to suffer from intensified Russian attacks. UN officials warned of rising casualties, devastation of infrastructure, and a deepening humanitarian crisis as the winter sets in.
Briefing the Security Council, UN top humanitarian official Lisa Dalton warned that civilians in Ukraine are bearing the brunt of escalating Russian attacks, with casualties rising sharply.
Dozens of civilians have been killed in recent attacks in the regions of Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Kharkiv, Kherson, joining the thousands whose lives have already been claimed by this brutal war. Last month, long-range weapons killed 65 civilians and injured 372 across 11 regions of Ukraine, double the number of October.
Dalton reported that, according to UNDP, more than 60% of energy facilities are damaged, leaving millions without utilities as winter approaches. The conflict also hampers humanitarian access, with 1.5 million civilians in territories under Russian control cut off from aid.
We're extremely concerned about the plight of an estimated 1.5 million civilians in need of support in the parts of the regions of Donetsk, Kherson, Luhansk, Zaporizhia under Russian Federation occupation. We remain unable to reach these people at any adequate scale.
In response, Russia's permanent representative to the United Nations criticized Ukraine for rejecting a ceasefire and prisoner exchange while accusing its leadership of prolonging the crisis.
The Ukrainian leadership past its expiration date doesn't want to resolve the situation. They repudiated Hungary's proposal to introduce a Christmas ceasefire and an exchange of prisoners. The Zelensky regime once again categorically rejected to take over the 600 servicemen who have been in Russia for more than a year.
Ukraine's permanent representative fired back, highlighting recent strikes in Zaporizhia, where a guided aerial bomb killed 11 people, including 2 children. He also condemned Russia's relentless attacks on energy facilities.
President last Friday Friday's strike was the 12th carried out by Russia against our energy infrastructure in 2024 alone. For these strikes, Russia used about 1,100 missiles, both cruise and ballistic ones. I reiterate, this is the number of missiles launched against energy facilities only.
As the Security Council deliberates, the war in Ukraine shows no signs of abating. With winter approaching, the humanitarian crisis deepens, leaving millions at risk as calls for ceasefires and peace remain unanswered.
President-elect Donald Trump has expressed his concerns about the ongoing war in Ukraine, pledging to speak with both Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to help bring the conflict to an end. Speaking at a news conference at his Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida, Trump called for an immediate halt to the violence. Trump noted that much of the disrupted land is in ruins and would take a century to rebuild.
Everyone's being killed. It's the worst carnage that this world has seen since World War II. I've had pictures of fields where bodies are lying on top of bodies. Looks like the old pictures of the Civil War, where just bodies are all over. Just if you saw those pictures, you'd feel more strongly about it. It's got to stop, and we're trying to get it to stop. Well, we're gonna see. We're going to be talking. We'll be talking to President Putin, and we'll be talking to the representatives, Zelensky and representatives from Ukraine. We got to stop it. It's carnage.
The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, will decide when and under what conditions to negotiate with President Biden, supporting that decision until the end of his term, U.S. National Security Council Coordinator Kirby said. In response to President-elect Donald Trump's comments advocating for negotiations to end the war, Kirby emphasized that principle nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. He reiterated that Zelensky, elected by the Ukrainian people, has the authority to decide the timing and the terms of talks. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump stated that Turkey will play a decisive role in determining Syria's future following the recent overthrow of the Bashar al-Assad's government by the rebel forces. Turkey and NATO members supported the rebels whose victory in Damascus brought an end to Syria's 13 years old long civil war. On Saturday, Turkey reopened its embassy in the Syrian capital just 2 days after its intelligence chief's visit to Damascus.
I think we have to get on with our lives. We'll have to see what happens. But right now, Syria has a lot of, there's a lot of indefinites. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Syria. But I think Turkey is going to hold the key to Syria, actually. I don't think you've heard that from anybody else, but I've been pretty good at predicting.
To Syria now, where during a meeting with the country's de facto leader Ahmed al-Sharan in Damascus, the UN Syria envoy urged an inclusive transition based on a 9-year-old Security Council resolution. That's according to Geir Pedersen's office. Syria's General Command, in a statement about its meeting with UN envoy Geir Pedersen, called for updating Security Council Resolution 2254 to suit the new reality. Pedersen had earlier suggested lifting sanctions could aid Syria's economic recovery. Canada's Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland resigned unexpectedly, citing policy disagreements with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau over increased spending. Freeland's departure just before the full economic update leaves Trudeau without a key ally ahead of a likely tough election. Trudeau appointed Dominic LeBlanc, a close friend and a public safety minister, as her replacement. LeBlanc focused on tackling the cost of living and border security, working closely with Trump.
She's contributed to the public policy life of our country in an exemplary way. And I look forward now to assuming the responsibility of being Minister of Finance, talking to my colleagues as we prepare for what will be a 2025 budget. And I have a lot of confidence in the decisions our government, our cabinet has made, but will obviously do my job as Minister of Finance over the coming months.
A rescue team successfully saved an injured cave explorer in the Italian Alps despite the challenging conditions.
Footage shows a 32-year-old speleologist, Ottavia Piana, being rescued in the Bueno Fonteno cave in the province of Bergamo in Italy. Piana, along with 8 others, was part of the expedition to map a kilometer of an isolated section of the cave, resulting in her falling 5 meters down and fracturing her legs, chest, and face. About 100 rescuers from the National Alpine Rescue participated in the operation as they widened 100 meters of the tight passages to bring Ottavia to safety, including the medical team stabilized her with oxygen, medicine, and a fan in the humid 8 degrees Celsius environment. According to Italy's state media, RAI, despite injuries, speleologist remains, in quote, alert and cooperative. Using a phone line that extends 3 kilometers, she reassured to her boyfriend that everything is fine.
The 13th annual Baklava festival in Baku showcased the enduring friendship between Turkey and Azerbaijan, with a spotlight on the world-renowned Turkish baklava.
The 13th annual Baklava festival in Baku showcased the enduring friendship between Turkey and Azerbaijan with the spotlight on the world-renowned Turkish baklava. Annual Baklava Festival in Baku, organized by the Baklava and Dessert Producers Association, brought together dignitaries, culinary experts and dessert lovers from both nations. Representatives from the Turkish embassy in Baku and members of Baghdad joined Azerbaijani citizens in celebrating this cultural event. Turkey was represented by a delegation of 100 participants, including leading baklava producers, who showcased 60 unique Turkish desserts. Highlights included pistachio, walnut, mussel, and cold baklava varieties that captivated attendees. Azerbaijan introduced 10 distinctive dessert varieties, including its iconic Baku, Gabala, and Sheki baklava, offering a glimpse into the nation's rich culinary traditions. The Baklava Festival underscored the importance of preserving and celebrating the shared cultural heritage of Turkey and Azerbaijan. By introducing their desserts to an international audience, the event reinforced the strong ties between the two nations.
That's all we have for you for now. Thanks for tuning in and keep watching AE News.